Hey, so I'm here. I just left Planned Parenthood. We're out proclaiming the message of Jesus Christ, offering help to women who may be going in there to murder their children, and calling out this sin of murder that is occurring in our community. And one of the things that happened today was that the Planned Parenthood people called the police, just like they did last week. Police came out, showed them the permit that I had, and basically the permit doesn't do a whole lot. The law is that you can project noise up to 50 feet, and obviously we don't go on their property or anything like that. The police, you know, were respectful for the most part, and basically just kind of said, hey, we want you to do your thing, we want Planned Parenthood to do their thing. I kind of talked to them about that, and then kind of said, well, hey, just make sure you're not exceeding that noise ordinance, make sure you're not going on the property, and make sure you're not standing still on the sidewalk. So we're at a place where babies are murdered. Little boys, little girls have their arms ripped off, their legs ripped off, pulled out of their mother's womb, placed together on a table, their different body parts, to make sure that the whole murdered person was extracted from the womb. That's going on inside, and we have police officers concerned about a woman standing on a sidewalk holding a sign that says, "We can help you keep your child." And their concern is that that woman shouldn't be standing still. She needs to be walking. As long as she's walking, everything's fine. You guys can go about your business. Planned Parenthood can go about theirs, and we'll just stay out of this as the cops. What is going on, right? What is going on in our society? This is what happens when you have a society that rejects Christ. Chaos and confusion. The magistrate is to punish evildoers. You have babies being murdered, being killed in Planned Parenthood. And the concern of the police is with those who are outside offering help and proclaiming the gospel and standing still on a sidewalk that no one walks on. So this just shows you that what's going on here, the Planned Parenthood people called the cops because of what we were saying. Not because they're like, oh, they're standing still, or oh, they're being too loud and it's disturbing the peace. They hate the message. And so this is a reminder for those who are Christians. Jesus is Lord, and acknowledge that and serve Him. The early Christians went out in the culture and proclaimed the gospel into a culture of death, of sin, where the authorities didn't want that message proclaimed, and they proclaimed it. And even though they were told, you cannot proclaim this message, and they were told to basically shut up, they said, we will obey God rather than man. And we need more Christians out at the gates of hell here, more churches, more pastors, to realize what's going on. And so we can deal with this issue of are we going to bring the gospel to the culture? Are we going to bring it out to the community, to bring it to the places of death, of injustice, and proclaim the word of the Lord, and proclaim the message of Jesus Christ, and offer help and resources to preserve life? Or are we just going to sit back behind the church walls and in our home? I mean, imagine the early church if they were told, hey, Peter and John, you can share the message of Christ, just do it from your homes, don't come out in the public, don't come out here and try to reach those who don't already believe what you believe. Would Peter and John have done that? No, they'd say, God commands all men everywhere to repent. Well, Paul said that, but they proclaimed the same message. They come out and said, Jesus Christ is Lord, and we must obey God rather than man. So this is going to happen again. The cops are going to be called again. Eventually, it's going to come to the point either where their hearts are changed and Planned Parenthood ends, which I believe will happen. But before that, we might come to the point where it's say, hey, you can't even be out here proclaiming the gospel. We weren't told that today, but we're at the point where we're being told that you can't stand still on us. I mean, what is that really anybody's concern, whether or not a woman with a "we can help your baby" sign is standing still on a sidewalk? Like, this is what happens when we believe that whatever the government says we need to do, right? What if the government says it's okay to kill Jews? What if the government says it's okay to kill children with autism or Down syndrome? Are then these cops going to be like, hey, sorry, that's the decision for the Supreme Court? Folks, we are accountable to God for what we do, and we as Christians, we need to call out sin in our community and speak up for those who are being led to the slaughter. So the Christians need to get engaged in this. We need to spread the word. Those who will not support the proclamation of the gospel into a culture of death need to read the Bible. Need to read Acts. Need to read the Gospels. Need to realize that the gospel goes forth into a culture of death and violence and paganism, and it's the power of God for salvation. If we say, well, we're going to deal with the abortion issue by trying to change the law and by trying to do all these other things, and then we'll try to use the gospel. Folks, the gospel is the power of God unto salvation, and that's what's needed.
You have to get involved. One, you have to stay moving on the sidewalks. You can't stand stationary. You have to keep moving. Okay, you can't enter the property.
Right, I know that.
No entering the property, because that's trespassing. Okay, and you can't obstruct traffic in any way. I know people come by and honk, and you don't.
Right.
So that's people just honking. But you have to keep people moving. Okay, you can't stop traffic for any means, and you have to stay off the property. The other issue is noise. City ordinance, which is a law, says that any noise or utterance that exceeds the distance of 50 feet.
Right.
Okay. Into that building's 50 feet, can be a summonable offense. Okay, so what I'm getting at is if you come over here and play your rock and roll radio and they can hear it over there and they deem it a bothersome to them, and we observe that, that's why we've been riding around here listening, and that's why we're having the conversation. We're not having it any further. Just so you're aware that if it exceeds that, it's not the matter, it's not the material you're saying, unless there's foul language involved, but it's the volume.
Okay. So even with the voice amplification, because that's what I went to the police department yesterday.
50 feet. Not to exceed 50 feet.
Okay.
You have to. That doesn't give you the authority to outrun or void the.
But if they're having like a parade, I mean, surely their music is going to be a lot. That's why I went to the police department. I'm just trying to ask. So I understand. I went to the police department on Wednesday, and I filled out because I didn't know we had this at the time, and I said, okay, I can speak within less than 50 feet without this, but I'm going to try to get this to use voice amplification. So
you just got to work within the 50 feet rule. That's simple as that.
Okay.
Parades, those are major events, large scale events.
Yeah.
They're different. They're not what you're doing here. So you got to just stay within the 50. I mean, we're not going to run here with a tape measure.
Right.
But it has to be reasonable and prudent.
Right.
If somebody's walking across the parking lot back here and you're up there on your thingamajig there, and they hear it, if they come and say, hey, or we observe it, we could actually summons you.
Right.
You don't need a $50 fine, which then becomes $100. You don't need all that stuff.
Yeah, I certainly don't want that.
And that's why we're talking to you. We're not here to scare you off or do anything else. We're just here to make sure you understand.
Right.
You have your constitutional right. I get it. That's what we're here for.
Right.
You just can't violate anybody else's.
Right. I mean, and we're here because ultimately I want to respect all the laws, but there's a higher law.
I understand
law of Christ,
that. I understand
babies that. Are murdered in there, so
we're that's a matter for the Supreme Court. That's not a matter for you and I to.
Well, we'll stand before God, and
right.
we'll be held to account whether we've spoken out against the murder that's occurring in our community. Right. So that's why we're here. I mean, we talk about rights. What about the rights of the babies that go through those doors in their mother's womb that are ripped? Their legs are ripped off, their arms are ripped off. So that's why we're here. So
I get it.
You're saying we can't stand?
You got to keep moving.
Is that what law is that?
You can't congregate. You just have to kind of keep moving. Just move along.
At that point, you're blocking the ingress and egress of people. I know there's nobody walking.
Yeah, there's nobody walking through here right now. But just keep kind of moving around.
Okay.
Like, the girls over there, they've been perched up on the corner now for 45 minutes.
Right.
They need to be moving. That's all. Just keep moving.
Okay.
The little guys are moving around a lot.
Of course.
Hope you're getting some ice cream out of this. You just keep moving. You have to keep moving.
Okay.
And I just caution you on the noise ordinance.
Right. My concern with that is it is what we're saying that made them do. I understand the law that like 50 feet, but if we were out here playing rock music or rap music, I'm sure they wouldn't have called. It's the message that we're proclaiming. That's where I get a little concerned that at what point, are we going to get, you were standing still for too long, you're going beyond 50 feet.
That's why we're having the conversation.
Yeah.
We're educating you. Educate consumers' best customer, right? I
Right.
mean, we're trying to educate you so you can make smart decisions.
Right.
That's all we're here
So
for.
we don't have to get involved. So
Yeah,
that's
we're
what
not.
wanna do is
We
get
don't want to
involved.
impede upon what you're doing, and we don't want to impede upon what they're
We
doing.
got enough things to do.
Yeah, we're trying to keep the peace, so to speak. And you know, and a lot of people don't understand, or they believe they know the rule of law because they watch you.
And
Protect
so-
the peace.
And
You guys should be able to do what you need to do,
Come on the sidewalk,
and we
bud.
have to protect what they do. I mean, it's,
and the
those are
babies
rules.
in the womb should be able to live.
And that's a matter for the Supreme Court. I get that,
Right.
but we have to adhere to the regulations. I get it.
Ultimately, there comes a time where me, you, we all have to obey God rather than man.
I would agree.
There'll be time for that.
And
Yeah,
Just-
yeah,
and we're getting close.
yeah.
Because, you know, I would just plead with you to do your calling to preserve life and don't do anything to support this place.
I have to. I hear you, but we have we have policies and procedures that we have to adhere to in enforcing the laws.
Okay.
We have to put that before ourselves
Right.
in our field in law enforcement. I can't put my personal opinions and feelings in front of the rule of law. That's what we swore to.
Right.
So I have to adhere to that.
But if the rule of law changes, where it's okay to
Then the rule of law changes, and if the rule of law changes, we change with it.
no, but you're held accountable to God ultimately. You can't if the rule of law changes and it's okay for it to have slavery, it's okay to kill Jews. You can't say, well, that's the rule of law now, so I'm going to do it because I'm an officer of the law.
Sir, to be honest with you, I'm not here for an ethical debate. I can't be. I just have to
Right.
let you guys know and educate you guys so you fully understand, so you guys can carry out your mission.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, I do
we're here
appreciate you
trying to
coming
do.
out and talking to me. I appreciate
So,
it. And I was just sharing with you, you know.
Yeah,
just-
yeah. You know,
just
I get where you're coming from. I'm hearing
sharing
you.
the message, right?
Believe me, I'm hearing you. But you know, we have our obligations that we have to adhere to. So and we
Okay.
to allow everybody to do their thing peacefully.
Right.
Because we know what happens when it doesn't.
Yeah. And we are out here peacefully.
Yeah.
They're not. They're murdering
I
babies.
understand.
So-
We just need to get some information from you, and we'll be on accidents. I've
Oh, I
investigated
know.
this intersection.
They're usually not out here, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if
Just
you've
be
seen
careful.
some of the videos, people out proclaiming the gospel, cars try to swerve and hit the people.
You see what's going on nowadays. Look what happened in Barcelona yesterday.
I didn't even get a chance to look at that yet.
Have you watched the news? It's crazy. So please be careful.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, have a good one.
So when people talk about, and you hear this, you know, sometimes in churches, we talk about, you know, we're so thankful that we have the freedom in this country to worship as we see fit. You know what? I think Satan and those who are desirous of murdering children are happy to have Christians behind the walls of their church sharing what they believe. If we're going to talk about our freedom, it's got to be about to proclaim the gospel into the culture. And Christians are to do that whether or not we have the freedom from the government or not. And so those who are not out in the culture engaging the world and engaging in justice with the gospel, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to say, well, you know, our freedoms are going to be taken from us. If you're not using them now, if you're not out there now proclaiming the gospel and the message that Jesus is Lord in the face of such injustice and evil and murder at these abortion mills, what makes you think you're going to do it if it becomes illegal? So I want, you know, those in the church who would say, hey, we are to proclaim the gospel and we're to bring this message to the world. Let's start doing it. And then you'll start to see where people's allegiances lie, and you'll see whether or not we will proclaim the gospel, even if we're told not to. We must obey God rather than man.